Hello, this is Philip Branton with the Revoked Civil Servant. Torah, and it's December 7th, and this is the third segment. Wanted to, I guess, give a current events type of an example. Today, let's say most of the things that were in the news was, I think, General Kelly resigning. And then, there was a big thing about Trump and his tweet storm earlier this morning with the Mueller investigation. Okay. Well, to me, as someone that looks at data and data history, December 7th being a historical day, you basically take a purview of what's happening in different areas. I particularly focus on three: communications, energy, and food. So today on the energy front, December 7th, there was an article that came out over on oilprice.com about the Permian oil reserves being twice as big as they thought. Okay, well, if you remember back, I guess maybe a week or so ago, Trump had already come out in the news that Trump was preparing to do the seismic testing and surveying off the Atlantic seaboard. Well, of course, that has certain ramifications. And you got to think about the timing of that also. I mean, that's something I believe he even campaigned on. So why did it come after the November elections, and during this time before, the holiday season? There's other things that are going on within that sphere also. So those need to be taken into consideration. So in this article, it says where the U.S. Geological Survey has revised their technical recoverable reserves. Well, right there, you got to think historically. It could just as well be read that the U.S. Geological Survey has revised technical recoverable reserves in the Atlantic Basin to so many billions of barrels and so many trillion cubic feet of gas. So, I use history, as an optics, as a lens, of how you analyze what is real data and what is not. How do you know if the U.S. Geological Survey is going to wait till now to get media to perpetuate or to float that information? From my point of view, that may be a signals intelligence counter to the information that the Trump administration had said, hey, we're going to allow this Atlantic offshore drilling seismic testing to go through. You've also got to consider market ramifications. You've got OPEC, you've got other players involved, geopolitical, and so for this information to come out, on all days as of today, is something to mark. So that is one way, and the value of certain information. Okay, how analysts use those markers along a timeline. You may say, well, why does it matter to me? Pension. Your investments. your retirement. Now, when an article comes out like this, how do investment hedge funds play that information? Okay? Because this is how information is used. So when it comes to, data analysts, how aware are they to the manipulation of the data that they're receiving? Okay? So that's why I wanted to bring this as a current events example and how it applies to you. Okay? Not just in your retirement pension or investments. Okay? Most people, when that news comes out, well, how is it being positioned? How is it being, manipulated via stocks as far as the timing? Okay? Because you got OPEC coming out saying, well, we're going to cut production. No, we're going to ramp up production. Well, see, information coming out like this. Now, this is based upon the U.S. Geological Survey actually revealing truthful data. There may be certain portions of this report that are strategic and they're not releasing. So think in a more quantitative view. I mean, if the Falkland Islands off the coast of Argentina are being fought over because of potential oil reserves, you got Brazil, Venezuela, and how their economies are interdependent with respect to their offshore and onshore production. You got Guyana, you got the Puerto Rican shelf. And you're being told there's no reserves in the Atlantic Basin. There's nothing out there. You don't even need to do that seismic testing. Now, you say, well, Chris, why are you laughing? Well, you got to understand signals intelligence. My dad was in the Air Force. He was stationed on the Texas Towers on those radar platforms off the coast of Nantucket. On those old oil platforms they brought out there. Well, first of all, back in the late 50s, early 60s, when he was, late 50s, I think, when he was stationed out there, man, what a huge signal. Now think about that. You got the Kennedys in power up there in Massachusetts. Well, if you're a Texas oil man, what you gonna do? Hey, buddy, I got an oil platform for you. You won't let us drill off that coast? Uh-huh. So that is some of the psychological warfare, informational warfare being fought. And I wanted to offer you that as an example of how you use real-time, hot off the press information. There's a reason that the timing of this was December 7th. Okay. And it is how certain data sets are being manipulated. We know what happens, but it's being able to to use quantitative analysis for verification. But even so, those metrics have bias, and they themselves can be easily manipulated. Okay, so this article right here, it may be totally fake. It may be only half true. We're supposed to trust the U.S. Geological Survey. Okay. But now, it really draws into question when you look at history between Alaska and how certain permitting up there is allowed. You have, certain history with Michigan, and that gas play there. Then you have Kentucky, West Virginia, coal, Pennsylvania, and then you have all the political wrangling with all the pipelines and easements to get those resources to market. And basically, it's never really mapped out for people to be aware of what's going on. Okay. That is something that, in my situation, I've been making notes on. Hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? Most of the analysts coming, out of college, get their first job. Analysts go into the military, go to the Naval War College. They really have no earthly idea, until probably 10 years into their service. They probably don't even care really coming out of, as far as coming out of college. So, and that's concerning, because it's these young analysts taking all this data in, passing it on with that bias built in. I realize I have a bias. I'm very upfront about it. That way, anyone who takes a certain amount of data, they know where I show up. That's just a marker, okay? Compared to other markers along a data set. So I wanted to offer that as a third segment thought, because that's real time. That happened today. This information came across the wire today. There are certain hurdles that had to be met before this article was even allowed to be published, and then it was timed. Okay, that's significant data. That'll go out December 7th. The writer probably didn't even really realize they were given an assignment. Hey, write about this new Permian play out here. Look at these results. And they sit down and they do their report. They send it back to the editor or the publisher, and he goes, "Oh man, that is great. We'll get that out as soon as we can." And there's a schedule. So they say, "Well, this is pretty good. That's pretty good information." And they tell the writer it's going to go out the day after tomorrow, or a week from now. Okay. Most people reading this they have some knowledge of how information like this, is strategically placed. And that has certain reverberations in different sectors, whether it be financial, political, military, and consumer. Anyway, thought I would offer that as a third segment. I appreciate you joining me. If you have any questions, let me know. Hey, if you feel like contributing, that'd be fine too. But I will try to get another update either this weekend or maybe the first of next week. Until then, thanks. Have a great evening. God bless you.